Hey everyone, this is Sherwin again with another video. This time I have a really special 5.0 video for you today. Basically, I got a 5.0 and I like to go through my 5.0s you know, just to show you guys how the games went, and it's just a fun thing for me to do. And I think these videos tend to do well, so here we are. So yeah, just this is my list. It's fairly standard, except the difference you'll probably notice are there's one Spreading Seas main board, and there's three Silver Gills and not four, and there's two subtleties. So basically, someone I don't remember who. I'm so sorry. Came up with a logic that if you're playing a Tide Shipper on turn one, you'll still have four Seas effects left in your deck. Um, to use. So you generally expect to have four Seas effects to use on Urza sagas and such. So I think that was interesting logic, and I kind of like that idea. So I kind of went with that. And Silvergill isn't so necessary that you need all four, but I still think it's a really good card right now. Of course, it's really bad in the face of Red and Six, and that's why there's only three. And also as well because a lot of the games in Modern are about tempo, and Silvergill doesn't really help with that. But I still think you want some number, to kind of mitigate these free spells. The impact that these free spells will have. So I still opt for three. I think three is a pretty good number. You can probably play four, and if you do, you don't have to have the Spreading Seas main board. Uh, but that's just kind of what I opted with, and I'm playing the two Dockhand because it's just kind of the best one drop. It's not a good one by any means. I think I was telling someone on stream the other day the reason this card matters is because the natural island walk and the fact it's a 1/2 instead of a 1/1. Uh, Although I have seen Mistcaller be absolutely bonkers insane. I'm sorry about that. So like if you watch my last stream, then Mist Callers was absolutely bonkers insane versus some decks like that Goryo's deck. It's very good against that deck. So maybe Mist Caller uh, is actually what you want. But I mean, I think Dockhand's fine, honestly, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I think it comes down to your matchups, and I think this card is generally the best out of in most matchups, except for the times that this one's insane. So yeah, and even against like creativity, like this card isn't strictly better because it just dies to Renda 6. And it's kind of awkward to have. You have to like in order to actually get use out of this effect, you're probably gonna have to like leave a vial in one. That's not really what you want to be doing. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. And there's two subtleties main board. This honestly could be anything. This could be the forces as well, but I opted for the subtleties because it's just another thing to attack with, and and I think it's still good tempo interaction. So I think I just went with that, and it's not so. When you have a lot of free spells main board against certain matchups, they get very clunky, and it's not really what you want to be playing with. So that's kind of why I also opted for only two free spells main board. But yeah, and I think Dismember, and despite Mashmalovsky having a lot of success with two Dismember, and then one in the sideboard, I think four is pretty necessary. I think it's too important to kill Ragavan, Letter Shredder. You know, someone puts a hammer on something, you kill it in response. I think it's just too important to play Dismember. So I think I'd probably even play five if I could, but we're not living in that world, right? So yeah, and I think everything else is pretty standard. The land bases, I used to be playing two of these instead of this, one of these, but I think it's come up enough that I get you can have pain. The mana base can be painful enough to where between this and Dismember, like you take enough damage that where like you probably just don't want you know the second one, but I'm not sure. It's obviously matchup dependent and situationally dependent. So I think one is fine. I've had success with one. I've had success with four as well. So in the past, but I mean, of course, it just depends on a lot of things. So yeah. And then some people are playing to a one War. I think two out of war is fine. I generally don't get punished for it, and a lot of times you can play one out, and then the second one can be a spell, so it's fine. Um, and then the Minamo, this is probably the most questionable land in my deck, but I think you just get random surprise wins against like people who don't suspect the Svaelund having vigilance, and I think that's that might come up. If it comes up just once during a tournament, I think it might be worth it. So I think that might be worth it. So I think I'm just gonna go with that. Um, as for my sideboard, I like the leaks. I like the leaks a lot actually. I was playing Aether Gust in this slot. I was gonna play this list at an RCQ, and I did play this list at an RCQ. I played this exact list at an RCQ. It went pretty well, except for I lost in top eight to creativity. But I think I sideboarded wrong, so I think that's kind of what that went. But anyway, I do like the mana leaks. The mana leaks have been treating me well, so I'm probably gonna keep playing that one. But you can play like a lot of things in this slot. You can play like Ratchet Bomb. You can play like um, I've seen people play Hercules Recall or Orvar. There's a lot of things you can put in this slot, but I think Mantically is in a blind meta, like you don't know what's going on. I think generally like it's a pretty good card, and you can even play the Aether Gust that I was thinking about. But actually the reason I didn't play Aether Gust in this slot was because um, I didn't. I wasn't able to get foils because my whole deck is foil right now, and I didn't want these two non-foil Aether Gusts to be sticking out, so I actually just kind of played Mana Leak. So yeah, they didn't come in the mail in time. But anyway, then we have the extra spreading seas for those Saga decks, and I think that's pretty much just Saga decks because I don't think uh, going for the mana denial plan is that worth it. But I mean, I'm sure there's certain matchups. Like, I definitely bring it against Scam because I think the Island Walk is very important, and I think I guess a lot of the matchups where Island Walk is important, you want this. Like let's say like I don't think humans is really a thing, but like I do think it's important to have Island Walk, so I like spreading seas, and it can't be solituded, so that's also nice. Um, Harbinger just for aggressive decks. It's pretty standard. I think most people are playing Harbingers, and then Chalice, of course, for Cascade and for Murktide. So yeah. And then these are standard. So yeah, that's my desk. That's my list, and we will just go. So for whatever reason, my recording didn't work out, and I have to use this. So, so I actually did stream this first game on Twitch. So that's why we have this open. It's gonna narrate over it, and we're playing against elementals here. They revealed Kahira, so we definitely it's either control or elementals. It's pretty much no in between. I think this hand is a pretty good keep too. And here they go, of course, they go Temple Garden and Nissa, which pretty much confirms it's elementals. And they reveal Flooded Strand here. And I don't have any turn one plays, so I just kind of play Island and pass. And they didn't have any they didn't have a red and six, so that's pretty good. That's a pretty good way to start this off. I think I went with Silvergill because I figured that it's fine if they have it's probably fine if they have Teferi here, but um, because I could just keep drawing again off Silvergill, and I don't get punished because they don't because they don't have a red and six, so I won't be able to get punished too severely either. So I decided to go with that, and then I draw a Tide Shaper here, so I think I'm able to put a little pressure on them and Teferi. So and I draw an extra card as well, so I can keep up on cards as well. So I'm able to deploy both. And here, I think I don't remember exactly what they would do. I think they went Omnath here, if I remember correctly. Yes, they went Omnath. So they went Omnath. So here I'm just gonna take my window to kill it. Make sure they don't get their fetch value. Like I don't want them to play a fetch here and then get some value off his Omnath. So I just had to kill it right away. And I believe I killed a fairy here. It's questionable whether you want to. It's very possible you want to just play spread on solitude and just kill the fairy here. But I decided to just let them solitude and see if they have if I have the 2-for-1. So, but they don't like they don't pitch the card. But yeah, they're clearly looking for something here because they played another Oath and they did find a Solitude, unfortunately. And here's a Teferi. I decided not to counter it. I just wanted to put the Hex Catcher in play, see what they did. Um, and they did go ahead and bounce my Hex Catcher. So here I decided to just finish off the Teferi, and if they want it again 2-for-1 themselves, that's fine. And if they have Ephemerate, I didn't want to commit anything else, so I didn't want to commit to any of my lords to that. So in case they did have Ephemerate, so I decided to attack. And they do intend to Solitude. They do that. They do 2-for-1 themselves, which is fine. Um, it is a little annoying because now Teferi, gets to live, but at least it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna bounce anything. So here I think I play Sveloon. I leave up the Mutavault activation. And if they kill one of my Tide Shaper, I can move up with second Mutavault activation. So here they play Risen Reef and they play Eladamri's Call. And I noticed they're at 10 life, so I just decided to go for the kill. And I top to a Lord, so I could definitely just go for the kill here. And I don't think I get punished too harshly. It would involve them 2-for-1ing themselves with Solitude. So I think since they've already seen a Solitude and the fact they would 2-for-1, I decided to go for it, and it worked out. I don't know if my sideboard plan is a little shaky here. I'm not a huge fan of it, honestly. Um, I just kind of do whatever, and I do think you need to bring in some number of force negations because you can at least counter prismatic endings. You can counter Teferi. You can counter if they play Leyline Binding, they can counter that, and you can counter Red and Six. Red and Six is particularly pretty important to them, so I do think you should just bring in the forces. I don't. Okay, yeah, it was actually the first game in this match that the last game of the match in the last league that I didn't bring in forces, but I think I'm rectifying that mistake here, and for some reason I'm taking out the Tide Shapers. I do like the aggro plan against the elementals, so I think I just kind of want to have all the one drops in there. But here, of course I decide not to do that, and here I don't really like this a lot. Um, it's kind of banking on them not having another land, but the way they fetched and the way their land base is, I felt like they didn't have another land, so um, I went and it worked out because I was able to counter the Red and Six on the way back down, but they did have another land, so they just kind of misplayed there. Here I play a Sveloon. I believe they prismatic ending it if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, yeah, they do. So that's puts us in kind of a bad spot because we 2-for-1 ourselves to play that Solitude, but yeah, here I'm just gonna move up the Trickster, and they don't play an Omnath, so but I did have a Dismember ready for the Omnath in case they did play it. So and here I think I'm just attacking with for 4. Again, I was leaving up the Dismember in case I didn't want to get blown out by a Fury or something here, so I decided not to play the Lord. Here they play Eldarmy's Call, and they got an Omnath. So I just decided to dismember out on this. I just decided to dismember it because um, if with this on the stack, they can of course they can fetch and get the life, which would suck. But I mean, I think if I don't do it now, they can have priority, and they retain priority, and then they get to play another land, and then they get the mana if they fetch with this one. So I just decided, I'll just let them have the life. So I decided to dismember. So just in case they had another land. And they do go ahead and fetch and gain the life, which is fine. Here, I think I kind of go all in um, since I had the Silver Gill. But I don't know. Maybe I should have just left the Lord in my hand. I probably didn't need to, because yeah, here I just get furied. And imagine if I had the Lord in hand, like, because then I would be able to, I'd have Lord and this Mutavault instead of Silver Gill and a Mutavault. So, but I guess it didn't matter anyway because of all this. This isn't a good spot, right? So, and of course they show me endurance and I lose the game. I probably wasn't winning anyway, but yeah, here I bring the Tide Shivers back in and I take out. I don't know. I don't know about that plan. Like here, I can show you what I don't know about that plan. I don't think that's I don't think that's right. I don't. I think I do think you want the leaks. Um, but yeah, maybe you don't want all the. I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to sideboard. To be quite honest with you, Veer. Um, maybe the silver gills are wrong though, for sure, because like um, with the silver gills, it's kind of questionable. Uh, if you play silver gill on the play and they can just respond with a red and six and it kills your silver gill, but I don't know. It's probably right to just not have the silver gill. So I think I end up maybe you can like not have all of the forces because it's not as good on the play. That might be the play. If you have any like I've been experimenting a lot like with different plans. So if you have any like suggestions on how I'd board against elementals, like let me know. I'd like to hear them. Maybe like you do want some number of silver gills like on a draw if they don't have red and six, and to kind of recover from these 2-for-1s that you're going to be doing to um, you know with between subtlety and force negation. But yeah, let me know what you think. I don't have like concrete plans. I just kind of like go with the flow, and it's not probably not the way to do it. And yeah, here they go ahead and prismatic ending my vial, which is fine because I don't really particularly care. And here I think I misplayed. I think I even commented on the stream where I probably could have left up Trickster or Hexcatcher. Um, if they play red and six, I can just counter it. I can just counter it, and if they don't do anything, I just go with Trickster and kind of see how their mana situation is, and kind of I can play Shaper and leave up Hexcatcher and dismember the next turn. But I think since I misplayed it, I just played the Mutavault. I'm basically only able to put Hexcatcher in play, and they can just wait. So I think, um, given that I played that, I'm just gonna go ahead and play the Tide Shaper. I messed up. I just played the wrong land. That was just the wrong play. And here they go Infuriate just so they can red into six. So which is interesting. I mean I would have been able to counter it, but yeah, here they don't do anything, and I just play a Trickster. I think here I draw Optic Immutable. I think it's pretty good. So I just able to just kind of attack this red and six, and um, here is an interesting. I decide to split the damage. I think a lot of times, if there's not a ton going on, as long as the red and six doesn't ultimate, it isn't actually that threatening. I know that sounds crazy, and maybe it's wrong. I should have just killed her. Maybe I should have just killed the red and six here. But I didn't want to expose myself to fury. Um, so I just kind of wanted to like, just hit the red and six, but still like be aggressive enough to where I can kind of get them to a low life total. Um, so yeah, I decide to split the damage between red and six and them. But yeah, as soon as like if you hit a red and six once, it's typically not going to ultimate, and I think that's fine. Especially since you don't have. I mean, it's very possible I should just kill a red and six because I have these one toughness guys in my hand, but I can also set up a situation where I can have a hex catcher in play and then you know leave up another hex catcher so it kind of eliminates the red and six being a thing. So but yeah, let me know if you think this is a stupid play. But I think this is fine. It is a very common play pattern that I've noticed has been successful for me. Like just kind of not killing the red and but attacking it once, just so it doesn't like have a chance to ultimate. So in a longer game. So yeah, that's just how I approached it. So yeah, I split the damage here, and you still want to be aggressive enough because you cannot win a long game against this deck. So yeah, and here they play a Risen Reef, and I was thinking about dismembering it, but I think it was a little more mana efficient to just play a Hex Catcher, so I decided to do that. Here I did play the Hex Catcher, and yeah, Cavern's actually not the worst draw because I can attack with Mutavault, leave up Hex Catcher, and play a Dismember, so it's actually not the worst draw. And here I decide to swing the team at him. And here, of course, they block with Risen Reef. So I'm fine with that because then I can just kind of play the Hex Catcher and then it would just kill the Risen Reef. Unfortunately, like I could leave myself open to like removal spell and then Ren Ping on the second Hex Catcher, but I think that's fine because I'd be hitting them to 4 here, and the 2 Mutavolts would make it lethal, and I have a Dismember to clear any blockers that they might have, so I think I was fine. Especially if like, even if I like, play a Fury, I think I'm fine with that. So because of Dismember, so yeah. But I think trying to be really aggressive against elementals, like I think you have to be the aggro deck against elementals because you're not going to win a long game. It's just not going to happen unless they like draw all lands, and I have had that happen, but it's very rare. So the games I've had the most success in and just are the ones where I just kind of, you know, I kind of like throw things at them and see if they can deal with them. But yeah, here of course they play a prismatic ending, which is fine, and then they ping my hex catcher, and then they concede. If you like, it's insane, right? Because like even if they play a Teferi here, they're on board to Mutavault. So yeah, um, that was the match. So here's match 2. I believe I kept this because this is kind of what you sign up for when you play Merfolk. You just want to keep one land vial hands. Like you keep them all pretty frequently, and you have an answer to Ragavan as well. And we're on the play, so I think this is pretty reasonable to keep. It does suck if they play a Prismatic ending, but like there's no Kahira here, so it's less likely to see one of those. So they do go ahead and play Steam Vents, but they play it untapped, so it could be. This probably means Murktide. Well, if they're doing this, it usually means Murktide or Living End. So, but I didn't draw another land, unfortunately, so I just kind of passed the turn. And Consider tells me it's Murktide, so. And the fact they don't have Giganta means it's probably not Breach, so it's probably just Murktide. And I think they play Shredder here, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, yes. So then here, it's a good opportunity to dismember this. And you win a lot of games like this. Like just they have a you're in the blind. They have a Shredder hand instead of a Ragavan or DRC hand, and then you just kind of coast. And I think you'll kind of notice that I kind of coasted on this hand with this hand. And I think I tried to find my land here, and I did find it. So I just go ahead and play it. And I decided to leave up the Hex Catcher in case they play Expressive. A very common play pattern is, if they're on 2 lands, they can play Expressive. So in case they find a 3rd land, they'd want to play Expressive with just the 2 lands up. So which is a really prime spot to play a Hex Catcher. So I decided to just leave up the Hex Catcher instead of playing another Silvergill. And they do not play Ragavan. They do not play Expressive. They play a Dash Ragavan, and this kind of is desperation, I believe. So I just kind of block it. And they do Shock here, and they play another Ragavan. I think it kind of makes sense now that why they played the first one, but it does feel a little desperate in a way. Like it kind of really. They kind of wasted their whole turn just to kill my thing that drew a card, so I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have a lot to do as it was, but yeah. And here I think I play a Master and kind of just get in there. And then play a Silvergill. I'm in a pretty commanding spot, and I even drew a land just so I could play with a dock hand as well, and they're just gonna concede. So, and here I think this is like a prime hand. This is exactly what you want against Murktide. It is unfortunate if they play like a Ragavan, but there's not a lot I can do about that as it is. So I think you definitely do not put hands back like this. So I definitely keep this. I lead off with DRC, thankfully, not Ragavan, so that's a lot better for me. And they play Shredder, so that just gives me a window to play the Chalice as well, which is absolutely perfect. Like when your hand lines up against Murktide like this way, you just cannot lose, and I think that's kind of what makes the matchup really like. I think the matchup is pretty good, and like it's draws like these that make it good. Like of course there's like the other side where they start with the Ragavan here, and then they have the engineered explosives and such. But yeah, here they are expressiving. I think their best plan here is to race in the air, which makes sense. And I think they play bobble on themselves because they want to see what they manipulate as fetch land. They want to manipulate the top of their library with a fetch land. See if they like it. And it does not look like they liked it, so... Yeah, so here I play a Silvergill. Just in case they had Counterspell or something, I didn't want to, like... I didn't want to play a Trickster on their turn, which is kind of why I did that. And I believe I wait a turn. Okay. So they do play explosives. They want to blow up this Chalice more than likely, which is fine. And now they're tapped out, so now I can pretty freely kill the Channeler. And I think I believe I do so. Yes. So now I can kill the Channeler. This trick happens a lot, so make sure you can line this trick up, because this is a very important thing to know. Because they're forced to attack. They have to attack with this Channeler, so you can just eat this trick. You can just eat the Dragon Rage Channeler with the Trickster. So just keep that trick in mind. And I think it's now time to race, so... And since I have a second Harbinger, I ended up just using this one. I generally like to try and save the Harbingers for Murktides, but I think that's not really on the... Like, there's no Murktide in play at the moment, so I think we're fine with just doing this. And I just decided to attack for 4. And just in case they play like a Murktide, I want to Trickster it, and then I can bounce it with Harbinger. And I believe I play Trickster here rather than Lord. Yes, so I can bounce the Shredder. But it's lethal either way, because I can just play a Lord and then kill them. And here I made special note to tap the Vial instead of casting the Lord, because if they have subtlety, then they'll be able to subtlety the Lord, and then I wouldn't have lethal anymore. So I just made special mention to just be able to end the game right here. So this does end the game though. So this is 12. And yeah, I think this is definitely another keep. So we just keep it. And here they leave off on a Saga and Expedition map. So this could be Amulet, or it could be Spike's deck. It's probably not Spike's deck, because Spike's deck usually plays Giganta, so it's probably just traditional Amulet. And I would just love to I just would love to top deck a Tide Shaper here. So basically now we're hoping for Tide Shaper here. And they play a Grazer and play a West, which is fine. And if they get to do this, then it's pretty bad for us, because they get an Amulet, and then they get to copy with the Garden here. So that's pretty bad for us. Unfortunately, that's what's probably going to be happening. But we have a really nice top deck here in Subtlety. So now I can just kind of attack with my. I think I'm gonna play a Lord here instead of attack. Like just in case they haste the Titan, I want to be able to Trickster it, or they have like they do something insane, and then they can, like, let's say they play another Amulet, and then they'll be able to just go absolutely nuts. So, you know, let's say they have another Amulet and another Grazer, that can just go absolutely nuts. So I wanted to be able to hold up Trickster and have a Subtlety. But I think either way, I think we're in a pretty good. We're like not in bad shape because of the Subtlety top deck. And they play Dryad, so that Dryad's important because it can give you Island Walk for free. So I generally not try not to kill it. So and here they play a Titan, and I go ahead and subtlety it. And I think that's just lethal now because they can. I can play a Lord and then play another Lord. Yeah, that's lethal because it's 10, it's 18, so and they're at 17. And it's lethal because of Island Walk, thanks to the Dryad here, so very good. Like, subtlety is very key in the matchup, so I believe I keep one here as well. Yes. And here they lead off with Saga, which is really good for us, because now I can just blow it up with Tide Shaper here. And I do so, and pretty much kind of flounder the rest of the way there. A lot of amulet starts are very dependent on Saga or like one amulet resolving, and that's kind of why I like forcing the matchup as well. You can see that I took all this stuff, I took all the Sveiloons out, I trimmed on Hex Catchers, and I cut the I cut a Trickster because Trickster is not too useful, and I cut 2 Dismembers as well. So I uh, brought in all the forces. I brought in the subtleties, the rest of the subtleties, and I believe that's pretty much it. So yeah, here I'm just kind of trying to kill them. So I just play some threats here, and they do play another Dryad, which I'm fine. I just let that go. And they play an Amulet, so it looking a little threatening here. I play Lord. I have free Island Walk again, so I decide to go for it and attack with everybody. And here, I decide to upkeep the Trickster on the Dryad, so they'd only get 1 land drop. They'll still get to Valakut my stuff if that's something if that's on the table for them. And this might be a little aggressive because I do think they play EE, so this might be a little aggressive. Maybe so. It's very possible I should have just not done this, but I think this is probably my best line to win. Just like force them to Titan here, and like basically challenge them to have the EE and force them to Titan here. And I think and especially it's going to be a little harder for them to do so because of the being able to get 1 land drop here. So I think this is probably the right play. Because if you challenge them to Titan, then we can subtlety it. So. And of course they do Titan here. And they lose. So yeah. Yeah, so no companions again. So I think we just keep this. Looks pretty fine to me. And they lead off with Ornithopter, Springleaf Drum, and Cigar is 8. So that it's a little scary on their end there. So I decided to just pass in case they have a hammer. If they have 2 hammers, I can't beat that anyway, so I'm just gonna let that's fine. And here they play a Pure Steel, and they don't play a hammer right away, so it kind of makes me think that they're either leveling me, or they don't have a hammer. And I'm starting to think they don't have a hammer because I feel like they kept the hand based off of the Saga here. So I think it's fairly safe to dismember the Pure Steel here. It's very possible I could have untapped and done it, but I wanted to be able to untap and Tide Shaper the Saga, so I think it's better to dismember right now and be able to, because once Saga gets rolling, it's really hard to beat from Hammer, so I think I just decided to go for the risk to dismember here. And of course they don't have the Hammer. I think they would have played it if they did on the Ornithopter and try to attack, so I think it's probably safe to do so, because like I don't believe they were playing around Dismember anyway, so yeah, here I just go ahead and play the Tide Shaper on the Saga. And here they play another Paladin, so Pretty much same as before. I go ahead and dismember it. I play my Lord to try and let's get a clock on them, you know. It's very possible I could have played this Hex Catcher instead, just because it's functionally the same thing in this spot. So I think that's probably a slight misplay. Probably should have just played Hex Catcher here instead. Um, but like this is only one more damage next turn, right? So. But you can also argue it's the correct play because of my mana situation. Because you know I always double, you know, it's a lot easier. Like let's say I draw a fourth land, it's a lot easier. I'd be able to play a double blue spell and a single blue spell here. So but yeah, they did top deck hammer here, so they are hitting me for this with this hammer. So that's a little scary. I go to 2 here, so I do end up top decking that. An Aether Vial, which is not that good. But here, my plan is to Trickster them, and even if they have Blacksmith skill, I can block with the Trickster at the very worst. So I think that's my plan. Yeah, definitely on the upkeep, just in case they draw another Blacksmith, like they draw a Blacksmith skill. But I'm very dead to like. I'm also very dead to like Shadow Spear, like on the next turn cycle. But yeah, well, you can't really do much about that, right? So here I play my Hexcatcher and I attack with both Lord and Trickster, and they're dead next turn. So as long as they don't play, like, if they play Stoneforge Mystic, I'm pretty insulated from that as well. But yeah, but they do concede, so that's good. So I actually made a mistake here. I actually like. I forgot to board out the subtleties. So what I was generally bored is I just take out all the Spheloons, and I take out all the Silvergills, and I do trim on a Hexcatcher, and I don't like the Dockhands either, and I bring in, on the play I like to have Chalices, but on the draw I don't like them as much, but I think in this spot I just want, I don't want the subtleties. I generally don't like subtlety against Hammer as it is, so I definitely missed boarding here, and this might have cost me because I do have to mulligan here. And I think this is fine, so I keep this. And their hand doesn't seem incredibly exciting, but especially since, yeah. Yeah, here to go Ginger Brute, which is fine. And this is getting a little scary now. I decided to leave up the Hexcatcher in case they played a hammer, because I would have definitely countered a hammer there. So yeah. And they're not doing anything, which is weird to me. But yeah, here I died to play a Hexcatcher. I didn't want to waste my mana, and if they have a hammer, I think I just have to, you know, Harbinger it the next turn. But yeah, here I'm just kind of playing stuff and passing, but this is not looking good. And they even named Hexcatcher off this needle, so I'm pretty dead. And they have Sophie for whatever reason. So I'm just very dead. Because I can't even block it with the Mutavault. So yeah, I keep just drawing Lords, and you know, you kind of just lose with Merfolk this way, because you know, Oops All Lords is a way to play Merfolk, but it's not the most winning sometimes. So yeah, this doesn't really do anything. So I'm pretty dead. Yeah, for some reason they waste their mana and move it back, move it over, and then move it back. So, by the way, I'm pretty dead. I play the Lord so that the sword can't kill my Lord. So I'm pretty sure I don't really have outs, and that's definitely not one of them. So yeah, I concede there. But yeah, overall, I think that the subtlety, I do correct that mistake, and I put the subtleties back in the board. So I bring those chalices in. And this hand's absolutely perfect. It's pretty much exactly what you want. You're able to stop an Urza Saga, and you have a Harbinger in case a cigar does a hammer, something leaks through there. So just absolute perfect hand. And so they have the scary start again, as they do. I believe I leave up Hexcatcher here. Yes. They do have Urza Saga, once again. And this looks really reminiscent of the first game, so. I do Hexcatcher here, and I'm fine if they hammer something, because I'm able to Harbinger it next turn, so. I do not believe they hammer in response, yeah. So I even drew a second Tideshaper. And I'm just saving this just in case they have another Saga, because that's definitely a way I lose this game. And I decided not to swing. I don't want to trade. I don't need to trade this because my I just don't need to trade this, right? So here they play another Pure Stale, which is fine. Doesn't do anything, right? And I play a Lord. And everything's looking really good here. So I just play a Tideshaper, blow up the Saga once again. And they can't even Blacksmith skill. They don't have it up. But even if they could, I have Hexcatcher to stop it. So. But yeah, I think they pretty much concede in this spot. Yeah, they just concede right there. Yeah, so they reveal Gigante here, which could mean a lot of things, but I think this is generally a keep. And I'm on the play. So I was thinking to myself, Gigante could mean Tron, it could mean a lot of things, right? It could mean Tron, it could mean Spike deck, that is, Spike's Amulet deck, it could mean a Breach, it could mean Shadow, it could mean a lot of things. So maybe it's right to just not play the Tideshaper here, but I decided to go ahead and do it because given my hand, I kind of want to, have something to put pressure on my opponent, so I just go ahead and play it. And they play Blood Fountain, which means it's the Goryo deck. And of course, land is not the best draw. Not really what you want to be seeing. But Trickster's not so bad. And they do Thoughtseize me though, and they take the Soilun, and I get really punished here with the Tideshaper. It's very possible, again, if I should have played the Soilun or not. But I guess in this case, they probably would have just taken the Tideshaper if they Thoughtseize me, because I wouldn't be able to play it then. So, because I wouldn't have known about Saga, so I wouldn't have played the Tideshaper. Let's say I passed on turn 1, I would have just played Silvergill, and they would have Thoughtseized my Tideshaper away to keep their Saga. But anyway, I just attack. I believe I leave up Trickster here. It's very possible I should have just played Lord. Yeah, I think I probably should have just played Lord. I do end up wasting the mana there because it's not like there would be a construct in play at that point in time, right? So, I think that was a slight misstep there. And here's the construct token. And I think they get really aggressive here. I just take this 6. I'm fine with this because I believe it's actually lethal if they don't have anything. And these decks end to be pretty light on removal because they tend to rely on Asmo for the removal. So I do kill one with Trickster, and then I play Hexcatcher, and I believe that's lethal. Yeah, like this. I believe they just concede here. It's actually just lethal. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a weird hand, but I do think it's a keep. It has an out to Saga, and Mana Leak stops the combo, and I can have something to play on turn 3. So I think this is a keep. A little clunky though, I won't lie. And they're not doing anything, which is really weird. So I play the Cavern here because in case I want to play the Trickster. If they don't do anything, I'll probably just play the Trickster anyway. Here they play Cookbook, and I decide to mana leak it. And the Veil of Summer. So in response here, I go ahead and force it. It seems like it's very important to them to play this. Like it's pretty important to their plan, so I just decided to counter it. Counter the Veil. Also didn't want them drawing extra cards, really, so... I don't see how I get punished too hard here, so I think I just play this Feloon. Maybe they just untap, play a Cookbook, play a Goryo's, but I can't... I think that's just kind of the nuts at that point, so I think that this was probably safe. It's very possible I should have left... I could have just let that go, but I still didn't want them drawing another card, so that's kind of why I forced as well, so... And they don't have anything, so it's pretty good for me. It's pretty smooth sailing at this point. And I just leave up Trickster just in case, so... Here I just let them just look at whatever. Anything is fine with me if in that spot, so... But they took Trickster because it looks like they just don't want to die. But here I dropped like a Force, so I'm able to leave it up, so that's nice. I just leave it up again. The hard cast Force, why not? And they're very dead at this point. Yeah. But I do believe they have a way to kill... Yeah, they kill my Mutavault here, which is fine. It will buy another turn, so it's very possible... Yeah, because if they had any removal spell, it wasn't possible to kill them anyway, because if I animated both Mutavaults, I wouldn't be able to play the Master, and that would have only been 5 damage. So they go to 2 or 1, which doesn't really matter. I decided to just deploy, so... But I think we're in a really good spot, though, and they concede. So yeah, that's the 5-0. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and please stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to acquire some copies of Deeproot Wayfinder, so we're going to try the Simic version of Merfolk. Hopefully this new, this card from March of the Machines is pretty good for us. I don't know. I'm excited about it though, so I'm hoping it's good. We'll see. But yeah, please stay tuned, and I'll be streaming that on Monday. So thank you so much for watching, and please. If you could, please subscribe to my channel for some more Merfolk content, and yeah, my Twitch schedule once again is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday from 8 to 11 Central Standard Time, and I know I haven't been adhering to it, but it's because life has happened and I have just not able to do so. But yeah, have this 5-0 video instead. So yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Please take care.